all right, I see some speculation in the chat about the Big 12 coach, and somebody just assumed that we were talking about Dion here being a Big 12 coach that is connected to an NFL job. Now, I guess you could argue, people say all the time, what's going to happen in Dallas? Would Coach Prime link up somewhere? What about, getting Coach Prime and Shedeur Sanders in Vegas with the Raiders? I saw Nick Wright talking about that. So I know that his name is going to be floated out there some, but this is like completely opposite end of the spectrum when you think about personality-wise who he is as a coach and being connected to the NFL, and that is one Matt Campbell. So Matt Campbell's interest in big jobs, be it college or the NFL, has long ago become a meme. I mean, that got memeified years ago, for sure. Gambling Gauchos doing the Photoshops. I certainly have always had that out there, blankety blank head coach Matt Campbell. It's even moved over into other areas, other people that get fired in high profile jobs. Matt Campbell becomes the immediate replacement there. It's been a meme for a long time because he gets connected with every job. He gets connected with every single job. He was offered an 8-year, $68.5 million contract by the Lions in 2021. I mean, if you just look at this year, the guy was in the mix at North Carolina. It sounded like he kind of said thanks, but no thanks pretty early on in that process. Washington was definitely in the mix of finalists at Washington last year when all of that was happening with like Lance Leipold, Matt Campbell, and then Jed Fish, who actually wound up getting the job. It was like in a whole Big 12. Chris Kleiman's name was being mentioned there too. It was almost like an entirely Big 12 search with everything that was going on at Washington last year. So this happens. But is this one, him now being connected to the Chicago Bears, is it one to take seriously? I would say maybe. I'll ride the fence a little bit on that. And this is not even the first time like this week that we've had a Matt Campbell to the NFL connection, because earlier this week, as you read about in the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, one of the NFL reporters from The Athletic said that his reporting indicated that Matt Campbell would be interested in interviewing with the Jets. And that one I was skeptical of. Like, I mean, look, I don't follow the NFL super closely anymore these days outside of watching Chiefs games. But I know enough to know a toxic situation in the NFL when I see one. I know enough to know that the New York Jets, that is not a place that you want to be. That is not a place conducive to your career and setting you up for a lot of success. I would be very careful about that if I were Matt Campbell. So that one I thought, I don't know anything about that reporter's track record or history, but I might take that with a grain of salt because that is not a good place to be. It's quite different when you're being connected to the Chicago Bears. And so this report comes from the Chicago Tribune. Okay, the Chicago Tribune reporting that Matt Campbell will get an interview. Now, speaking of memes, it has become a meme on Twitter today. I have noticed that like everybody seems to be getting an interview with the Bears. All right, there are a lot of people getting an interview with the Bears. But I would look at this and say, okay, one, this job is not the Jets. And two, you do have a quarterback with like the guy upside, right? And Caleb Williams. That's two things you'd look for. Like, don't be a total disaster of an organization. Not that the Bears have been great, 2 playoff appearances in 14 years, but they're not total disaster status like the Jets. And you have a better quarterback to play with, which is just, I mean, it's really like a non-starter in the NFL. If you don't have a good quarterback to really play with, or a high draft pick that you would be walking into where you can draft that guy, maybe that's for the best. If you can like pick the guy, it's just not really a great situation. And if you think, I would say this, Iowa State fans or anybody out there, if you think this would be just a ploy, like a negotiating ploy, trying to get more out of Iowa State, fleece them for more money, better security, whatever. I mean, I would first of all say that's definitely not the Matt Campbell reputation, right? Not somebody that would be doing something for the money. He is somebody who famously, a couple of years ago, he took a lot of crap for saying, we're not competing for championships. We're just trying to be the best version of ourselves. I'm paraphrasing there. But that took a lot of heat when it was a question related to the Big 12 championship. And then the other thing is, guys, he just got the extension. That was last month in December. He got an 8-year extension through 2032. So I have a bit of a hard time thinking, well, this guy just weeks after getting an extension is going to take an NFL interview just to scare his job even more, to give him a second extension, sweeten the pot even more after you just went through that, especially when that does not appear to be his MO. Man, it feels to me a little bit more like, hey, I didn't strike while the iron was hot after the last major breakthrough, which was 2020, when go to the Big 12 championship, win the Fiesta Bowl. That was a big, big breakthrough season for Campbell. And then he's had to deal with a bit of a dip over the last couple of years where his name is not quite as much in those circles until he picked it back up a little bit last year and definitely this year. But he went through that dip with the scandal, with a 4-win season. And it feels to me a little bit like, all right, man, I turned it down last time. I didn't take the Lions job. I maybe should try to explore this a little bit more while the iron is hot right now. And it is definitely hot when you just delivered the first double-digit win season in school history, winning 11 games this year. Now, I don't know if you're asking me, like, do I think Matt Campbell would be a great fit at the NFL level? Man, I don't know. That his style seems to be a great fit. Seems like more of a college guy, like rah-rah togetherness kind of guy. That to me wouldn't seem to play all that well at the NFL level. So it seems like it would be kind of a weird fit. I don't see it as like a slam dunk to work, but it's obviously, it would be a big paycheck and would be a significant, I would imagine, dream come true sort of thing to be an NFL head coach. And he definitely seems like somebody that could get work coming back on the back end of that, back into college, right? Like you think Matt Campbell would all of a sudden, the guy who's been mentioned for every single major opening over the last 6 years in the sport, just because things didn't go well with the Bears, who have made 2 playoff appearances in the last 14 years, would totally torpedo his future college career? I don't think that would be accurate either. So ultimately, I will say, I mentioned everybody getting interviews and this turning into kind of a meme today on social media. Here are the other reported interviewees: Pete Carroll, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Mike Kafka, Drew Petzing, and Mike Vrabel. I believe Mike Vrabel may have already interviewed, was the reality there for the Bears. So that's a huge list, man. That's a huge list. If you're just playing like Matt Campbell or the field is going to be a massive favorite there. Massive favorite for that job. And it's not like, as I mentioned, Campbell is some slam dunk candidate. In fact, I was just scanning through the comments. It didn't really seem like Bears fans were too thrilled with that as a name. And then the other part of this is I'm reading the Chicago Tribune article, and Ryan Poles, who's the GM of the Bears, says, he's talking about his interview candidates. He says, quote, "It's going to be a diverse group. This will be different backgrounds from offense, defense, special teams, college, pro. We're turning every stone to make sure we're doing this the right way. There's going to be some names that you don't expect that are going to surprise you because we're digging deeper than we ever have before." Kind of makes it feel like, hey, the whole point of this is we're trying to grab as many guys from as many corners of the football world as we possibly can. And Matt Campbell, for whatever reason, that's our college guy. That's the guy that will reach out and grab from college. So to me, could it be that he's just someone they're interviewing for the sake of trying to interview such a wide variety of people? Certainly sounds like that. So if you're asking me what I think is going to happen, I do not expect him to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. But I understand, I would say this. I think this is more North Carolina. I saw his name getting thrown around for North Carolina right at the beginning of this coaching carousel, this coaching cycle. I was never very worried about that. That seemed like a weird fit. I know North Carolina seemingly was very interested. Didn't seem like anything that Campbell would really be interested in. I think outside of like a big time job in the Midwest or upper Midwest, kind of where Matt Campbell's roots are, in Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, something like that, which it doesn't feel like he's ever like ascended to the level of being the favorite at a place like that. This job would scare me more than just like your average college job. I guess I'll put it that way. For one, Matt Campbell, and my apologies, my light just conked out on me there. I may try and swap it for you here in just a moment. So anyway, apparently the extra light here does not think that that Matt Campbell is going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears either. Or maybe it's the lights going out on the tenure at Iowa State. I don't know. Maybe that's another twist. I'll leave you to decide that.